Alexander's work is about human behavior, and it's about changing habitual responses to stimuli to a more thought out and consciously chosen response. When I talk about behavior, I mean it in the broadest sense, from not just, what you do bodily, but also what you do mentally, your habits of thought, whether you tend to daydream and then daydream about these particular things, well, how you use your field of attention, and what do you do with your body as well. How do you hold yourself, carry yourself? Are you tightly wound? Are you kind of collapsed and lazy? All these kinds of things go into behavior. So when people think about the Alexander technique, they often associate it with posture. But ultimately, the Alexander technique, well, it's not about sort of adopting a good posture to solve all your problems. It's not that sort of thing. It's about altering your behavior, altering your responses to all the myriad of stimuli that you come in contact with throughout the day, because those responses shape you. Over time, gradually, they shape you and have this strong influence on your posture. And if you can begin to change your reactions to the different stimuli in such a way where you're not reacting in ways that pull you down and twist you this way and that way, then you begin to influence your posture indirectly by directly affecting the way you respond to the different things in your day. So what this long underwear is going to represent is your entire musculature suit, okay? Because the muscles don't operate in isolation from one another. Whatever's going on in one set of muscles is going to influence things all the way down the row. So this is what somebody would look like if they had no misuse, if they were perfectly coordinated, like one of those young infants, okay? But over time, people get into the habit of stiffening their necks and shortening their spines and restricting their breath and twisting a bit this way and that way and pulling their limbs into themselves and that sort of thing. And so this is what people end up with. And this is not, these wrinkles, they don't represent knots exactly. They represent tendencies in the person's coordination. So when a person goes to do any activity, the amplitude on this pattern gets a little increased. And then they stop that activity and it goes like that. So over time, this just becomes more and more and more established in the person. This, to them, feels like this, okay? So when an Alexander teacher comes along and does this to them, it's very disorienting. It feels very strange. Let's say a person had a habit of just pulling their shoulder forward like that, and the Alexander teacher stopped them from doing that. It might feel to the person like the shoulder was way back there. When the Alexander teacher comes along and they're working on somebody's arm on the table per se, they're not trying just to free an arm, but they're trying to influence the whole of the person, especially, the head, neck, and torso area. And the person, as I'm guiding them with my words to use their mind to help work in these other parts, they're working in conjunction with me. A person gets like this and they're unaware that they're like this. What tends to happen is some kind of pain will manifest in some place here. Maybe it's going to be the hip. So the person thinks, oh, well, there's something wrong with my hip. And they focus all their attention on the hip. But they have this whole pattern that this hip business is part of. And the whole pattern is reinforcing the old hip pattern, too. And so they're working like crazy in this one area, but this is all working against them. But when they can begin to think of the whole, and begin to undo things like that, that really tends to undermine, the habit pattern at a more fundamental level. there has to be a good relationship between the teacher and the student. When you're shopping for an Alexander teacher, I think it's very important how you connect with that teacher. It's probably more, you could take somebody who has 40 years of experience and is considered a phenomenal teacher that you don't connect with versus someone with 5 years experience that you do connect with. That connection is very important, and the fact that, you can trust this person. The teacher is going to help you, find your way through the dark, really, because as you'll find, your sense of feeling, this thing that we all rely on to kind of help ourselves do the right thing, it turns out that once we've gone wrong and developed poor habits of using ourselves, that sense of feeling is no longer really a reliable guide to get us out of the mess. Alexander likened it to a faultily calibrated compass. And it's like we're orienting, our compass is orienting to a false north, and we're trying to use this to, find our way back. And so the teacher is there as an aid to do that until the student learns how to work around that problem.